All right, today's rehab session is for all of you out there in the world who are now sitting at home because of this time of crisis, and I've got some stretches for you to do to either stop your back being sore, or if you've got a sore lower back, this is for you to help it get it looser and get it less painful. Because if you're one of those people who are sitting at home, either working at home or you're in home isolation, or you're not exercising at the same time because you're out of your routine, then this one's for you. Now, I've got 3 exercises for your lower back, 1 for your glutes and 1 for your hips, because you need the hips and the glutes to help your lower back. So there's 5 in total. Let's get stuck in. The first one is the gold standard for lower backs. Now, this is, think of the opposite of sitting. If you're sitting heaps, this is like the reverse, the complete opposite, and it's to try and pull out all the stiffness and tightness that's going on in your lower back from all the sitting that you're doing, or even just the inactivity that you're doing. Now, this is not just for now, this is a lifetime one. So what I would do for you is just get out of your chair for 1, get on the floor. I probably wouldn't do this in your bed or the sofa. Get on the floor. Now, this one's called Mackenzie extension because it's named after an amazing New Zealander, of course, called Robin Mackenzie. Now, this one here is to reverse the sitting flexed position. So if you notice what I'm doing, hands directly under shoulders. Now, when I push up, of course my pelvis is going to come off a little bit, but I'm trying to keep the front of my pelvic rim bones on the ground, okay? So your pubic bone, if you like. I don't mean the front bony parts here, the middle part. So that's what you're trying to keep on the ground. So it's not like a yoga one where you're coming way off. You're actually trying to keep it down so you actually stretch through the lower back. Now, some of you won't be able to get up that far. I've got a pretty mobile lower back. So some of you may find you can only get to there because you're so stiff. Well, you've got to start somewhere. But what I would aim for is when you push up, you just go to the stiffness and don't try and hammer through it. Just go to the stiffness and then come down. And you're after about 2 seconds at the stiffness for the stretch and come down. It's not a sustained one. I don't want you sitting there and just holding it there for minutes, okay? You do 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down. You might wait for 2 seconds and then go again. And the crucial thing is you're trying to make sure when you do it, relax your lower back, relax your glutes. Don't let them fire up. So you've got to practice this a little bit so it's a complete passive stretch when you come upwards. And when you do push upwards, to try and stop those muscles firing up, you've got to try and think about, if I can push the ground away from me and then hold myself with my hands and then relax, then I'll get that deep stretch. Be mindful of any pain and then drop down. Now, people say, well, how many? Listen, I advise a set of 10. So 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down, 10 times. That's 1 set. 3 sets twice a day, okay? Minimum if you've got back pain, a lot of stiffness, or you've just been sitting far too much. Then you can probably bring it down to once a day and then once every few days. But that's a really, really good one because, like I said, it's the opposite of that position. So there's my C-shaped curve. That's the bad position you want. If you're in a sitting position, you want to be avoiding that position. But to reverse it, do that one, okay? Mackenzie extension, that is gold. I can't recommend it highly enough. Now, so that's your first one I want you to do. Second one is the old footy stretch. Now, this one seems, you think, oh, this is pretty easy. But with this one, your lower back's going to thank you. What I want you to do is have one arm completely out like that, okay? Some people can't get it backwards. Some people might have to have it straight. But as long as your arm is out, what you're trying to do is keep that shoulder down. So when I go into rotation, because this is a rotation stretch, one side at a time, you grab that leg, take it over. Now, some people are really tight, go, oh, this is as far as I can go, and I can feel it in my glute, and that's fine. You may not feel it in your lower back, so don't get put off by just going there and going, oh, nothing's happening, okay? Something is happening. You've just got to hold it there for long enough. So this is holding down here. You might get a bit of a pec stretch here. This one's taken over. Again, only go to the pain. So don't go into pain and try and force it and smash it over there. Might just go for a bit of a click. They go there and go, oh yeah, they click it, and oh, that's better. That's not enough, okay? The clicks are fine. But when you take it over, get there to the point where you feel like, I can't really go any further. It's a comfortable enough stretch from maybe my glute through to my back, and you hold it there. Now, how long for? This one's a tricky one. You need to go 1 to 2 minutes. Now, it's boring, and it's long, but it's worth it. And I would try and do that stretch for 1 to 2 minutes. So maybe 1 minute if you're a bit of a beginner. 2 minutes, as you've done this before, to get enough sort of creep and stretch through the tissues that it frees it up and gets your rotation a little bit better. And that rotation helps you with the flexion, helps you with the extension, okay? So it frees you up in all those directions. So that one has to be followed up. You've got to do the Mackenzie one, you've got to do the rotation one. Now, you don't have to do all these in order. I'm just giving them orders for today, but you can mix it up a little bit. You can do one set of each and throw it around. I don't really mind, but see if you can get both sides done for 1 to 2 minutes, 3 times both sides. So that's a lot, right? Maybe sort of 6 to 8 to 10 minutes of stretching, okay? But give it a shot. I'm sure you'll find it'll be really helpful. Now, once you've done those two, okay, and if you're that sort of person who's got really tight QL muscles in here, extensors are just really rock hard, you put your finger in there, you go, oh, it's really tight, you may find you need a little bit more. And this is where the third stretch comes in. So this is your QL stretch. Now, your QL stretch, this is, listen, you can do QL stretches all over the internet. They've done in different ways. This is what I like. I think it really works. So if you're going to do the left-hand side, now I've done a lot of videos on this before, but I'm going to show you again. If you're going to do the left-hand side, you put your right leg out. So left-hand side, right leg out. You try and grab that. Now some people who are super, super loose in their hamstrings and like that will be able to straighten that and grab that and they feel nothing, okay? Most of you who are tight won't be able to do that. Bend the knee. And that does take off the sciatic tension problem going on in there. Then you try and reach forward. Now, some really stiff people won't even be able to get there. But if you're one of those persons who can get to that point there, you may find that's a big enough stretch already. Then you try and keep that knee down. If this knee's coming up like this, you try and push that down, which will open you up through the hip, which is also really good. Keep that there, and then try and rotate your upper body around. So if it's your left-hand side you're stretching, you're rotating your left shoulder back to there. Then from there, with this right leg, just take it out a little bit, and then you're going to try and use your right arm to pull yourself down, right down, so your chest or your rib cage comes closer and closer and closer to that thigh. Now you're going to start feeling that stretch all the way through. You might feel it through some of your obliques, through your lats, down through your extensors and into that QL. And that's where you've got to try and stretch. Push it there, push it back, tilt over, and guess what? Again, this is a hold. So 1 to 2 minutes in this position, both sides, 2 to 3 times. Okay, it's a lot of stretching going on. But you know what? If you're at home and you're self-isolating, you're probably watching some TV, instead of sitting in that sofa in that bad position, get on the floor and watch TV doing this, okay? This is one, it takes a long time, so you might have something to distract you. It's a perfect time to stretch, okay? If you're watching TV, perfect time to stretch. And just get stuck into that. Now that's really going to open you up. Now the only caution with that is if you've got a current, really acute lumbar disc bulge or herniation problem that you're battling with, that might be too advanced for you. But if you've got a normal back problem, as in it's just stiff, it's a bit tight, okay, it's getting a bit sore, give that a shot as long as you're doing the extensions and the rotations. So there's your 3 lower back. Now you've got 2 other ones for your hips and glutes. So the glute one, what I do, listen, the safest one, because this covers people who have got disc problems and back pain and tightness, the safest one, what I would do is put one leg up on something. Now it doesn't have to be a rig like this, because hey, the gym's shut, right? So you won't be having something like this at home. You've probably got maybe a sofa or a wall or even an open door. But what you do is get yourself in a position where you can get close to something. So this might be close to the end of a sofa, right? Or the edge of the wall and the door's open, that sort of thing. Even this could be a big leg of your kitchen table, right? Have one leg down, which keeps you sort of neutral in your lower back, which is good for those disky people. And then you put the other leg up on top of here and bring it down. Now, to get the right amount of stretch for your right hip, I've got my right leg up on the pole, right glute, right hip. I need to be in the right position here. So you may have to shuffle up and down to get the right amount of stretch here. Now, you know, I did legs today, so I can feel this already. But this stretch here, you're trying to get your foot straight up on there, almost sort of 90-degree parallel with the shin, and then you can feel that stretch in your glute. Now, for this one, this is a bit of a hip glute one. I push that out and ram that out that way, and that's going to give me a really big opening stretch through my hips. That takes away some of the tension in my lower back. I'm going to feel a lot better in my lower back by loosening up the muscles that are connected to my lower back, which is your glutes and your hips, hip flexors, okay? So that one there is going to be really good. It's like a dual glute and hip joint stretch, and that's really, really helpful. You probably find it even helps with you when you're squatting down, because some people get back pain because they're so tight in the hips. When they squat, they can't get down. You probably find it frees you up a bit more, stops you getting back problems. So there's a whole lot of things that can help with, but you're doing it to loosen up this to help your lower back. Now the last one, they call this the world's greatest stretch. Now this has been done all over the internet as well. I'm going to show you my take on it. What I want you to work on is you've got to think, I'm doing this to loosen up structures that are shortened and tight. So when you're sitting down, I'll sit here, when you're sitting down, you've got to think, if I'm sitting down at a computer, I'm going to be short and tight in here. And then when you stand up, they're still short and tight, which sort of disrupts the whole mechanics and posture of your lower back. So if you can loosen up through here, hip flexors, groins, hammies, you'll just move better, you'll feel better, your back will feel better. So go into a position as though you're kneeling, all right? So I'm parallel with my legs. What I want to do is slowly sort of lunge forward a little bit, okay, just a little bit, because I've got to get my right hand down to my right foot and keep my back straight. I don't want to be rounding down like this, so I've got to keep my back straight. So right hand, right foot. Then left hand, sit at the same position here, almost like I'm starting a running race, if you like. So this position here, what I want to do is weight bear through my hands. So I'm going to sort of put my body weight slowly through my hands. So I'm holding myself up with my hands. And if I can do that, then I can actually relax through the hips. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're holding yourself up with your hips, and you won't actually get the amount of stretch and relaxation you need. So you've got to trick your brain a bit, if you like, and let your body realize you're supported with your hands, and then you can sort of let go through here. Now what you're trying to do is your front knee has to go outwards. So your front knee externally rotate out like that. You don't have to push it, just let it get out there until you feel that front right leg groin really stretching through. Okay, so front right leg groin really stretching, and then the left one, you're hanging there, you'll feel it in the front hip flexor. So my left one here, I'm feeling it through a bit of the front of the thigh hip flexor. Now if you get to that point, you probably find that's enough stretch for you. You probably feel like you're breaking in half a little bit there. But if you can extend that a little bit more by squeezing your glute, so what I mean is, if I'm in this position here, from side, can you see on my back flat there? I'm going to try and squeeze this glute here, and that will give me more inhibition of that hip flex in the front. So if I let it go, not much. If I squeeze it, heaps more. Okay? So that squeeze there, if you can turn it on, gives you way more stretch through the front, and that'll give you way more release. So it's like a sort of pattern of movement. Now that opens you up here, which just means you're going to move a lot better day to day after you've been sitting down. Okay? So there's my 5 for you guys who are sitting at home, you're isolated at home, or you've got your home set up that's a little bit unorthodox, it's not quite as good as you had at work. do those stretches, because the last thing you want is your back going out on you in this time of crisis. So get stuck into that. Hope that helps.